Imagine looking at a massive steel warship docked in a harbor. It is made of thousands of tons of solid metal. Now, imagine a man walking across the deck. Suddenly, he screams. You watch in horror as his legs begin to sink into the solid steel floor. Not like he is falling into a hole, but like he is stepping into quicksand. The metal ripples around his waist. Then it hardens. He is trapped. He is not just stuck. His skin, his bones, and his blood have molecularly fused with the molecular structure of the ship. He is half man, half steel, and he is still alive. This is not a scene from a sci-fi movie. This is the alleged aftermath of the most controversial government experiment in history. We have all heard of Area 51. We know about the Roswell crash. But there is one secret the US Navy has tried to bury for 80 years. A secret that involves invisibility, time travel, and a crew of sailors who went through a gateway to hell and never came back the same. Welcome to the true story of the Philadelphia experiment. To understand the horror, we have to go back to 1943, the height of World War II. American ships were being sunk by German U-boats in the Atlantic. The United States government was desperate. They needed an edge. They needed a way to move ships without being seen. They turned to the greatest minds of the century, Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla. The goal was Project Rainbow. The theory was based on Einstein's unified field theory. The idea was simple. If you can generate a massive electromagnetic field around an object, you can bend light and radar waves around it. Effectively, you can make the object invisible. But they didn't realize that when you bend light, you also bend time. And when you bend time, reality breaks. The test subject was the USS Eldridge, a Cannon-class destroyer escort docked at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. It was fitted with massive generators, Tesla coils, and magnetic amplifiers. The crew on board were just regular sailors. They were told they were testing a new type of vibration engine. They had no idea they were about to become guinea pigs in an experiment that would defy the laws of physics. October 28, 1943. The day of the final test. Witnesses on nearby ships, specifically the SS Andrew Furusith, watched as the generators roared to life. The sound was deafening. It wasn't just a hum. It was a scream of electricity that made fillings in people's teeth ache. Then came the fog. It wasn't normal fog. It was green. A radioactive, glowing green mist began to swirl around the hull of the USS Eldridge. The water beneath the ship began to boil. The ship started to vibrate, blurring out of focus like a bad photograph. And then, flash, the USS Eldridge vanished. It didn't just disappear from radar. It disappeared from sight. There was nothing there but a depression in the water where a 1,200-ton ship used to be. The generals and scientists cheered. They thought they had achieved the ultimate camouflage, but they were wrong. The ship hadn't just turned invisible. It had teleported hundreds of miles away in Norfolk, Virginia. Sailors reported seeing the USS Eldridge appear out of thin air for a few minutes. It just materialized in the harbor, confusing everyone. Then, just as quickly, it vanished again. Back in Philadelphia, the green fog returned. A bolt of blue lightning struck the water, and the Eldridge slammed back into existence. The experiment was technically a success. But when the shore crew boarded the ship to congratulate the captain, the cheering stopped. The silence that followed was the silence of pure terror. The scene on the deck of the USS Eldridge was something out of a nightmare. The first thing they noticed was the smell. The smell of ozone mixed with the smell of burning meat. Some of the crew were missing completely. They were never found. It is believed they were lost in the void between dimensions, floating forever in nothingness. Some of the crew were insane. Men who were perfectly healthy an hour ago were now curled up in corners, laughing hysterically, tearing at their own faces. They had seen something in that other place that the human mind could not process. But the worst fate was reserved for the men on the deck. During the teleportation, the molecular structure of the ship and the sailors had become unstable. When the ship rematerialized, the atoms got mixed up. Rescue teams found two sailors buried up to their waists in the steel floor. They weren't crushed, they were fused. Their blood was pumping through the steel. The metal was part of their torso. They were screaming in agony, begging to be killed. Another sailor was found with his hand fused into the bulkhead wall. He had reached out to steady himself when the ship jumped, and his hand became one with the wall. And then there were the men who were burning. They weren't on fire. They were glowing. The high-intensity electromagnetic radiation had charged their bodies. Witnesses said these men would randomly burst into invisible flames days after the experiment. The Navy immediately classified everything. They brainwashed the surviving crew. They claimed the USS Eldridge was never in Philadelphia that day. They claimed it was just a degaussing experiment to hide ships from magnetic mines. But secrets have a way of leaking out. Years later, a man named Carlos Allende sent a series of strange letters to a researcher named Maurice K. Jessup. Allende claimed to have been a witness on a nearby ship. He described the green fog, the vanishing, and the freezing. The freeze was a side effect that plagued the survivors for the rest of their lives. Sometimes, a survivor would just stop moving. They would freeze in time. If you touched them, nothing happened. But if you laid hands on them to unfreeze them, the person touching them would feel a static shock that could stop a heart. Allende wrote that the sailors who went through the portal saw creatures. They saw a world of red skies and mist. They saw the future. The researcher, Maurice K. Jessup, became obsessed with the case. He started digging too deep. He received a package from the Navy Office of Naval Research. It was a copy of his own book, filled with handwritten notes in the margins by 3 different aliens or entities discussing the technology used on the Eldridge. Jessup was getting close to the truth. He told friends he was on to something big. And then he was found dead in his car. A hose connected the exhaust pipe to the window. The police ruled it a suicide. But investigators noted that Jessup had been in high spirits. And strangely, no autopsy was ever performed. Was he silenced? The USS Eldridge was eventually sold to the Greek Navy and renamed the HS Lyon. But the stories didn't stop. Greek sailors reported that the ship was haunted. They claimed that in the dead of night, they could hear men screaming in English. They said they could see glowing green faces in the metal of the hull. They said the electrical systems would go haywire for no reason. Even after it was scrapped in the 90s, the legend remains. So, what really happened on October 28, 1943? Did the US Navy unlock the secrets of the universe only to realize they couldn't control it? Skeptics say it is just a story. They say the fused men were just sailors getting sick from secret chemical tests. But consider this. In physics, we know that strong gravity and strong magnetic fields warp time. We know that wormholes are theoretically possible. Is it so hard to believe that in the middle of a desperate war, with the smartest men on Earth given unlimited budget, they managed to kick open a door that should have stayed shut? The Philadelphia experiment is officially a myth. But the families of the crew members who went insane, the men who vanished, and the researcher who died in his car, for them, the horror was very real. The next time you look at a massive steel ship, ask yourself, is it solid? Or is it just a collection of vibrating atoms waiting for the right frequency to fall apart? And if you ever see a green fog rolling in over the water, run. Run before reality decides to let you go. This is the story of the USS Eldridge, the ship that went to hell and came back, but it didn't bring everyone back with it.